Nessus had not yet reached the other shore when we moved on into a pathless wood that twisted upward from hell's broken floor. Its foliage was not verdant, but nearly black. The unhealthy branches, gnarled and warped and tangled, bore poison thorns instead of fruit, the track of those wild beasts that shun the open spaces men tell the track of those wild beasts that shun the open spaces men tell between Cecina and Cornetto runs through. Oh, the open spaces men. I get it. The men of the open spaces. The track of those wild beasts that shun the open spaces men till between Cecina and Cornetto runs through no rougher nor more tangled places. Here nest the odious harpies, of whom my master wrote how they drove Aeneas and his companions from the Strophades with prophecies of disaster. Their wings are wide, their feet clawed, their huge bellies covered with feather, their necks and faces human. They croak eternally in the unnatural trees. Before going on, I would have you understand, my guide began, we are in the second round and shall be till we reach the burning sand. Therefore look carefully and you will see things in this wood which, if I told them to you, would shake the confidence you have placed in me. I heard cries of lamentation rise and spill on every hand, but saw no souls in pain. In all that waste, and puzzled, I stood still. I think perhaps he thought that I was thinking those cries rose from among the twisted roots through which the spirits of the damned were slinking, to hide from us. Therefore my master said, if you break off a twig, what you will learn will drive what you are thinking from your head. Puzzled, I raised my hand a bit and slowly broke off a branchlet from an enormous thorn, and the great trunk of it cried, why do you break me? And after blood had darkened all the bowl of the wound, it cried again, why do you tear me? Is there no pity left in any soul? Men we were, and now we are changed to sticks. Well might your hand have been more merciful, were we no more than souls of lice and ticks. As a green branch with one end all aflame will hiss and sputter sap out of the other as the air escapes, so from that trunk there came words and blood together, gout by gout. Startled, I dropped the branch that I was holding and stood transfixed by fear, half turned about to my master, who replied, O wounded soul, could he have believed before what he has seen in my verses only, you would yet be whole, for his hand would never have been raised against you. But knowing this truth could never be believed till it was seen, I urged him on to do what grieves me now, and I beg to know your name, what to make you some amends in the sweet world when he returns, he may refresh your fame. And the trunk said, so sweet those words to me that I cannot be still, and may it not annoy you if I seem somewhat lengthy in reply. I am he who held both keys to Frederick's heart, locking, unlocking with so deft a touch that scarce another soul had any part in his most secret thoughts. Through every strife I was so faithful to my glorious office that for it I gave up both sleep and life. That harlot Envy, who on Caesar's face keeps fixed forever her adulterous stare, The common plague and vice of court and palace inflamed all minds against me. These so inflamed him that all my happy honours were changed to mourning, then unjustly blamed. My soul, in scorn, and thinking to be free of scorn in death, made me at last, though unjust to myself, by the new roots of this tree, I swear to you that never in word or spirit did I break faith to my lord and emperor, who was so worthy of honor in his merit. If either of you return to the world, speak for me, to vindicate in the memory of men one who lies prostrate from the blows of envy. The poet stood, then turned. Since he is silent, he said to me, do not waste waste this hour if you wish to ask about his life or torment. And I replied, question him for my part, on whatever you think I would do well to hear. I could not, such compassion chokes my heart. The poet began again, that this man may with all his heart do for you what your words entreat him to. Imprisoned spirit, I pray, tell us how the soul is bound and bent into these knots, and whether any ever frees itself from such imprisonment. At that the trunk blew powerfully, and then the wind became a voice that spoke these words. Briefly is the answer given. When out of the flesh, from which it tore itself, the violent spirit comes to punishment, Minos assigns it to the seventh shelf. It falls into the wood, and landing there, wherever fortune flings it, it strikes root, and there it sprouts lusty as any tare, shoots up a sapling, and becomes a tree. The harpies, feeding on its leaves, then give it pain and pain's outlets simultaneously. Like the rest, we shall go for our husks on Judgment Day, but not that we may wear them, for it is not just that a man be given what he throws away. Here we shall drag them, and in this mournful glade our bodies will dangle till the end of time, each on the thorns of its tormented shade. We waited by the trunk, but it said no more, and waiting, we were startled by a noise that grew through all the wood, just such a roar, and trembling as one feels when the boar and chase approach his stand, the beasts and branches crashing and clashing in the heat of the fierce race. And there on the left, running so violently, they broke off every twig in the dark wood. Two torn and naked wraiths went plunging by me. The leader cried, come now, O death, come now. And the other, seeing that he was outrun, cried out, your legs were not so ready, Lano, in the jousts at the topo. And suddenly in his rush, perhaps because his breath was failing him, he hid himself inside a thorny bush, and cowered among its leaves. Then at his back the wood leaped with black bitches, swift as greyhounds escaping from their leash, and all the pack sprang on him with their fangs. With their fangs they opened him and tore him savagely, and then withdrew, carrying his body with them, limb by limb. Then, taking me by the hand across the wood, my master led me toward the bush. Lamenting all its fractures, blew out words and blood. "Oh, Giacomo de Sant'Andrea," it said, "what have you gained in making me your screen? What part had I in the foul life you led?" And when my master, who had drawn up to it, he said, "Who were you, who through all your wounds blow out your blood with your lament, sad spirit?" And he said to us, "You have come to see how the outrageous mangling of these hounds has torn my boughs and stripped my leaves from me. Oh, heap them round my ruin. I was born in the city that tore down Mars and raised the Baptist. On that account the god of war has sworn her sorrow shall not end. And were it not that something of his image still survives on the bridge across the Arno, some have thought, those citizens who of their love and pain afterwards rebuilt it from the ashes left by Attila will have worked in vain. I am one who has no tale to tell, and made myself a gibbet of my own lintel.